It's the next to last day of the month, and we got a huge Friday to wrap things up. It's semifinal Friday in all of our sports. We'll update you on all the 6-state tournaments that are going on, plus the Stanley Cup finalists set and the Bison are set for the NCAA tournament. Hot Mike starts now.
Hot Mike with Dom Izzo.
Really? Really, Dom?
No. I like what Dom's doing.
Okay.
Dom Izzo.
Jeez, come on, Dom. What do you think I am, a magician?
Yeah, I'm fired up, Dom. What else could I say?
Absolutely. It was great to get on the field, and then Dom came up to me, and I'm trying to walk away from me. I just wanted to enjoy myself out there.
Hot Mike.
Great job.
There's got to be some kind of intelligent question about something.
Coach Dom Izzo, WDAY in Fargo, North Dakota.
Can you give me a layup or something?
Hot Mike. Presented by Northwestern Mutual.
That program is second to none.
On the networks of WDAY.
You know, if it's not about sports, I find it very hard to concentrate.
Here's Dom Izzo.
Good Friday morning. Welcome to the Let's Do That All Over Again edition of Hot Mike on WDAY Extra, KSFL in Sioux Falls, KNBN in Rapid City, and Inforum.com. Happy Friday, everybody. The final Friday of the month. It's the final day of the school year in Moorhead. It's a big day at our house. It's a big day because it's Final Four Friday for all of our team tournaments that we got going on today. For the 5 of them, we're going to figure out who's going to play for a state championship between now and about 9 o'clock tonight, give or take a wild pitch or an extra inning or something like that. But welcome to the show, everybody. Great to be back in studio. Thanks to Eric for holding things down. First off, you had to go shoot soccer, so I need to know, because I didn't talk to you after the show. What time did you get to Cheyenne yesterday? This was the big question I was wondering.
11:45.
Well, it's great. It started at noon, so you're all set, right?
They went early.
What? What time do they start?
11:55.
Well, you're still there in time.
Oh, we had a fan complain because they missed a goal because we started the second game 7 minutes early.
Oh, wow. They started early?
Yeah, they get done like.
I didn't know. I thought they wait.
I mean, it was all 2-0, 2-0,
Yeah.
2-0, and then 1-0. We could have been out of there by like 8.
But you had no shootouts yesterday. You had no overtime, nothing.
No.
So
I was sweating it when the third game. I was like, okay. I mean, we had time to fill, so it would have been fine.
Yeah.
But it was like 0-0 going into the 10th minute, 10 minutes to go in the second period. And I'm like, uh-oh. Whoever scores here, I'm gonna feel bad for the goalie because they've been phenomenal
really good.
all day.
But you avoided overtime or shootout, so you're gonna get it today. So there's probably no doubt about that.
Nah. We got a state championship rematch coming up.
We do have that. So first off, you saw already we're gonna have to deal with the haze and the smoke, which is gonna be worse for the runners that are here this weekend. Obviously, we have the Fargo Marathon on top of things going on tomorrow, and that certainly looks like it's going to be impacting. Hopefully it doesn't impact too much for all the other sporting events we have going on, both here in town and in Grand Forks over the next 48 hours. Quick shout-out to everybody that was involved with any production yesterday. We were as stretched as we've ever been. We had Eric was out in West Fargo, Cheyenne with soccer. We had two crews up in Grand Forks to shoot baseball and softball. We had a crew at Newman Outdoor Field. We had a crew at Thurlton Park at NDSU. That's big time, folks. Something that big time networks are doing to produce those games, and everybody got a chance to watch yesterday. We had some great feedback from the stuff, at least that I had heard from softball and baseball. I was at softball yesterday, and it looked great. I checked in on other stuff. I know many of our production people were checking in on what was going on in Grand Forks, and everything, I think for the most part, it's live television, went without a hitch for the best part. So we'll do it again today. We've got consolation games. Those will all be streamed later today. And then the semifinals get rocking and rolling later this afternoon around 4 o'clock for some venues, 4:30 for others. And we're looking forward to what's going to be a great day. We got a lot to get to today. As I mentioned off the top, no Corey Provis today. Corey is traveling. If Twins fans noticed, he was not on the call. He took some vacation time after the Twins series with Kansas City. He didn't go to Tampa He's flying today, actually, from Minnesota to Seattle, so he's unavailable for us. So we'll get Corey back on the show a week from today. Twins are opening up their series with the Mariners later tonight, so we'll get Corey after the trip to Sacramento. I'll be intrigued to get his thoughts on what the other minor league ballpark that the Twins are heading to after they wrap up their series with Seattle. But we do have plenty of other stuff to get to, including the Bison baseball team plays later today, 2 o'clock, against Arkansas out of the Southeastern Conference. We're going to preview that. You're going to hear from Bison standout pitcher Parker Puetz, who's on the road back after Tommy John surgery, missed the entire 2024 season. He's back on the mound and slowly getting back to where he was, which was an ace pitcher in the Summit League 2 years ago when the Bison hosted the Summit League tournament. He was their dude. Now the Bison have found Nolan Johnson became the Summit League Pitcher of the Year. Logan Knight's had a heck of a year. Parker's working his way back in, so you'll hear from him coming up later on in our program today. Excited about that. Yesterday, also, for the TV college football nerds came together. We got these initial schedules for the first 3 weeks of the season. Also, we found out a couple of FCS games, including North Dakota State's game with South Dakota State. We'll give the full breakdown on that before we wrap up the show later today. Let's try and whip around as best we can of everything that happened yesterday across all the tournaments. Let's start with Class B baseball. That was going on at Newman Outdoor Field yesterday, where if you were a top seed, you were in good shape. Unfortunately, Eric had all the good games in soccer. We had Blowout City at Newman Outdoor Field yesterday, and the games were, unfortunately, not very close. Thompson was impressive. They beat Renville County in the first game 9-1. Northern Cass, led by the standout Trey Hussar, shut out Bishop Ryan 7-0. Park River is the number 1 seed in their mustard yellow uniforms. They were dominant. They beat Rugby 10-0 yesterday. Add on LLM's big win over Shiloh 18-1. All the top seeds won yesterday at Class B baseball. So what that gives us for tonight is the 4 best teams are left standing. First semifinal, you'll see at 4:30 on Extra later today. That's Thompson and Northern Cass. Buckle up. That's going to be a great game. And that'll be followed by Park River and LLM in the second game, probably about 6:45, 7 o'clock tonight at Newman Outdoor Field. Those are your semifinalists. Consolation games begin later this morning. Again, as we mentioned, you can stream those on WDAY+. You get to see all those coming up later today from Newman. But those 4 teams that are left standing, that's pretty good stuff. Class A baseball up in Grand Forks at Kraft Field. Well, the East had the day. They took 3 of 4. South, how about Fargo South? Hasn't been at state in 10 years, and the Bruins rout Mandan. They're going to get Cheyenne. We visited with Jason Belkey earlier in the week, head coach of the Mustangs. They edged out Legacy in a good one, 4-3. Minot got by Horace 7-2, and they're going to get Davies, the top seed out of the East, who beat Jamestown 5-2. So those games get going at 4:30 at Kraft Field. Those are streaming exclusively on WDAY+ with our guy Sam Getzinger will have the call of those games up at Kraft Field today. South Cheyenne and Minot and Davies coming up later today. And again, the consolation games with Mandan, Legacy, Horace, Jamestown, you can stream them as well on WDAY+. Also yesterday, we had softball going on at the Therrelson Complex at NDSU, where we had a mixture of some great pitching, clutch hitting, and a couple of bombs thrown in as well. Hillsborough Central Valley provided the power yesterday. This game was 2-all against Velva. The Burros erupted. They hit 2 home runs in the top of the 5th. They had 3 in the game. Kaylee Kittleson with a bomb there. Darcy Hattlestead, she had 2 home runs in the game for Hillsborough Central Valley. They won big. Talk about winning big. So did Central Cass. We got to see why they're number one for a reason. Against tournament newcomer Carrington, they unfortunately got the brunt of it yesterday. Central Cass won 17-0 in 5 innings over the Cardinals. So Central Cass moves on. They'll get the Beulah Miners. That'll be the second semifinal coming up later tonight. These games on WDAY2. Delax Burlington will get Hillsborough Central Valley in the first game. That'll start at 4 o'clock later today on WDAY2 for that. You've got 4 really good teams. We had 1 seeded team lose. That was Velva Drake Animus getting knocked off by HCV with their power. So looking forward to that coming up later today. The consolation games begin 11 a.m. Again, you can stream those on WDAY+. Also yesterday, Class A softball at the new complex at UND. All West, all the time. It is a Western sweep, what happened up in Grand Forks. Minot beat Davies. Dickinson routed North. Williston, a big win over Cheyenne. And Bismarck knocked off Red River. So that is your Final Four later today. 4 o'clock start up at Albrecht Field at UND. Ryan McNamara has the call of those games coming up later. So it's an all-West semifinals in Class A softball. Let me tell you how different that is, because we've been years that, the East never lost in the opening round. That just didn't happen. And apparently now that is completely flipped there. Just to update as well on soccer yesterday. Red River and Mandan won their first 2 games, so that's the first semifinal at 4:30 today. Minot and Davies will be the second game at 6:45. That Minot team is really good. You want to pick some winners here? Because you're going to be out there later today. What you got coming up? These games you can stream, by the way, on WDAY Plus starting at 4:30. Yeah, you're not calling it. You're not calling it.
Give me Red River.
Okay.
Man, that Minot team really struggled with Grand Forks Central, but I know nothing about soccer.
That's always the best time to pick when you know nothing.
Give me Minot.
So.
Why not?
All
Minot gets revenge from last year.
Okay, so there you have it. That's later today. Again, those games are on Plus. And before we wrap up the show, we'll give you the full layout of how to watch all the championship games tomorrow. Pretty neat deal that we're stacking everything on top of one another, and you'll be able to I understand the weather's going to be nice tomorrow. Might be a bit smoky, but if you want to watch, you'll be able to do that on WDAY Extra and WDAY 2 tomorrow. Last thing before we set up the show, we have our Stanley Cup final matchup, and if you like last year, well, you're going to love this year because it is the same old, same old. The Edmonton Oilers dusted the Dallas Stars yesterday. This is a remarkable stat we'll get to after we show you what they did. Edmonton was up 1-0. They go and score. Jake Ottinger, Dallas's great goaltender, got pulled by Pete DeBoer, the head coach at Dallas, which tried for a spark. It didn't come. Jeff Skinner will score down low. The Oilers go up 3-0. They were hoping for a spark to pull the goaltender. It backfired. And when you pull your dude, and that happens, you got some question marks there. This is not the guy having a breakaway. Breaking news, Connor McDavid is not the one you want to have alone with a puck. That's a fabulous goal. 4-2 Edmonton through 2. The Stars made it a 4-3 game, and then right back comes Evander Kane to score. That made it a 5-3 Edmonton lead. They get an empty netter. They actually touch the Clarence Campbell trophy. That's normally bad mojo goes with that, but last year they didn't touch it, and they lost in 7 games in the Stanley Cup final. So they said, well, why not? We're going to embrace it this time. But they win 6-3. So the Oilers will meet the Florida Panthers for the Stanley Cup. It is the first time in 16 years we get a Stanley Cup final rematch. Pittsburgh and Detroit played back-to-back years in 08 and 09. And now we get it again with Florida and Edmonton. And if we get anything like we had last year, which, remember, the Panthers went up 3-0. Edmonton won games 4, 5, and 6, and we had a dynamite game 7. Let's go. Series begins next Wednesday. That is in Edmonton. They'll have the home ice advantage on that. So that's our Stanley Cup final matchup set for next week. The NBA finals are not set yet. The Knicks held off elimination by beating Indiana last night. So we got a game 6 with New York and Indiana. That's tomorrow night in Indianapolis. And if somehow the Knicks can win, look out on Monday night, because Monday night would be game 7. That might be the craziest environment in Madison Square Garden in a long, long time. Maybe since game 7 of the Stanley Cup final in 1994, because that was crazy. They got to win game 6 first. Eric got us some breaking news here before we go and set up our show. Football-related wise, the Vikings have announced that they have signed their general manager, Kwesi Adofo-Mensah, to a multi-year contract extension. Of course, they took care of KOC basically right after the season was done, after the Vikings lost to the Rams. They've made it now official that Kwesi's going to be back as well. He has been, I think, tremendous in free agency. I think pretty adept at trades. The draft is still a question mark. We'll see. I think the pick of Jordan Addison worked out. Dallas Turner, not sure on that one yet. I love the signing of Van Ginkel. That was great. Grenard worked out tremendously. We'll see how this year's draft goes for them. They obviously drafted Donovan Jackson, the big offensive lineman. Look at the moves they made in free agency, basically totally revamping their offensive line. I like that. The draft, no, it's a different story. But Kwesi is signed to a contract extension by the Vikings. We got a packed show coming up for you here. Speaking of football, we're going to chat some football with Eric Schmidt, UND head football coach, as we're, 92 days out from the season opener. Fighting Hawks found out yesterday they're playing in prime time to start 2025. Their game with Kansas State will be under the lights in Manhattan. We'll visit with Eric about that and how the offseason has gone, coming up here in just a few minutes. At 9:35, I mentioned Bison Baseball getting ready for their NCAA tournament opener with Arkansas. You'll hear from Parker Puetz about his recovery from Tommy John surgery. That's coming up at 9:35. Special guest at 10 o'clock. My pops will be back with us. Looking forward to having my dad back with us. And also, don't forget, we got some basketball news that broke yesterday. We were up at NDSU. The Bison men's basketball team got a 2026 commit. Max Iversen out of Delano, Minnesota. Told he's one of the best shooters in the state. Max will join us about his commitment to the Bison. So we are packed to the gills here on a Friday to wrap up the week. So let's get it rocking and rolling. We'll take a break. We come back. Eric Schmidt will join us on UND's offseason, the countdown to the new 2025 campaign. That's coming up when we return after this. Welcome back, everybody, on a busy Friday morning show. Every state tournament ready to resume later today. Excited about that. But, every Friday we talk football. Doesn't matter what time of year it is. I don't care if it's May 30th. We love talking it. Yesterday, as I mentioned, for the TV nerds out there, the first 3 weeks of the college football schedule got announced. I was keeping an eye on that. Saw a couple games that got my attention. One, South Dakota, as game with Iowa State, will be on Fox. Big Fox. We'll get to that later in the show. Also, the University of North Dakota's opener at Kansas State will be under the lights, ESPN Plus, to open up the 2025 season. That'll mark the first game for head coach Eric Schmidt, who joins us over the phone this morning. I'm sure, I don't think you were waiting around to see that, but now you know when you're playing under the lights. Give me a sense of knowing that first game and knowing what's going to happen.
Yeah, no, I think obviously as you start to get game times and start making flight arrangements and stuff like that, the season's getting closer and closer, and our guys actually have left town here for a couple weeks after graduation, and most of the guys are starting to filter back in the offices here this weekend and this morning, and we'll get started with our summer phase of our year-round calendar, so definitely can start to, smell it a little bit more and feel it, and college football is right around the corner.
Now, you dealt with this all the time. I've never asked you about this from your days in Washington, and certainly in Washington, probably to a lesser extent at San Diego State. But as a coach, how frustrating is it that you don't know sometimes until maybe 5 days before, like when you're playing?
Yeah, no, I think it can definitely be challenging, especially the night games on the West Coast, right? Like, I mean, you're sitting around the hotels, and I mean, games are getting kicked off on the East Coast out there at 8:00 in the morning, and you don't kick off until 8:00 at night. I used to joke all the time, like, hey, let's get to halftime here by midnight so that we can all get back in the offices on Sunday morning and turn back around. So that was obviously one thing that's really nice about getting back to the Midwest is afternoon games, and we did some things with our start times here with our home games of doing things in August and September and October with 3 p.m. starts, just because tailgating is obviously important to our followers and people that are traveling from all over the state. So we wanted to make sure that they had the opportunity to do that. And then once we got into November and December and those later on games, that we would go at 1 just because of the weather and things like that. Tailgating is not as a big deal during those times. It's still important, obviously, to the diehards and people that want to get out there. But for most of the fans, they're showing up and going to the games at that time. So yeah, I just think getting back to afternoon games and not having to worry about late West Coast games is going to be something I know that I'm going to enjoy.
I was going to ask you about that. I'm glad you brought it up. How much are you involved in that in terms of the home game times? Are you involved in that kind of decision making and trying to get, hey, we want to make sure our fans can enjoy it, especially when the weather's nice, before we kick off?
Yeah, I think you're always involved. Definitely was involved in it. You're always looking for the blind spots in your program, right? Like, there's a lot of different factors that come into it. People that are, going to high school games on Friday nights, and can they get up here on Saturday? People that have young children and things like that are in youth football. That's a lot of times on Saturday mornings, or sub-varsity games can be on Saturday mornings, and you just want to be accessible, right? That people can come here and it's not a burden. They're not missing out on something. And a ton of people, it's part of their, their tradition and part of their life. They're going to be here. But obviously, if you can enjoy a Saturday afternoon in August or September or the middle part of October and be out and be with your friends and former teammates and colleagues and enjoy the tailgating part of it before you get into the game, it's only going to add to the atmosphere.
I'll get to some football stuff in a minute, but did you go back to the state track meet? Were you out there last week in Bismarck?
Yeah, I did get out there on Friday, and it was awesome. Have a relationship with some of the ADs in Bismarck, and Dave Zittelman does a great job. Like that event, I actually, when I was in Fresno in Clovis, California, they had the state track meet about 2 blocks away from my house.
No kidding.
Buchanan.
Wow.
And it was an amazing event. Like it would be, the northern part of California meets the southern part of California, and the amount of Olympic times that get run there. Like you got to run, 10.5 to get into the semis or the finals of the 100. It's unbelievable, just as far as the competition and stuff like that. And we got a chance to go out there and definitely see a lot of talented kids. And it's crazy in North Dakota, the times that the kids are running now, just obviously in the springtime, you don't have great weather. You're not running in 85-degree weather all year round, and can get out in January and February and train and all those things. So to see the amount of speed in the state and really the middle distance stuff was amazing too as well. And then I know there was a girl, I know her dad, Corey Immels, I believe was her father, who was a really good runner back in my era at Williston. I think it was his daughter who ran like 4:34 or something like that in the mile. Was as good as anybody in the country. So yeah, just to see that whole deal. And the cool thing about the state track meet is everybody's cheering for everybody, right? Like you're out there to see good times and see people excel, and it's fun, man. It was a great atmosphere. It was very well attended, and the weather was awesome too as well.
I know you've been busy both obviously on the recruiting trail and adding guys to the current roster in the portal. For the guys that you can't talk about on the portal, was there something after going through spring ball like, okay, we're in need here? Can you describe where your method of attack was after spring football wrapped up in terms of the portal?
Yeah, great question. I think, the biggest thing for us is, you're really looking for roster protection, right? Like every year there seems to be, hey, you're going to get thin at some point off of it. And you got to be able to do a good job of making sure that when that does happen, that you have somebody else ready to go and that's, equipped and has enough experience, in games to be able to go in there and perform and ask them to do what you want to do. So I think the one thing you try to do, especially in this day and age, you're trying to stay old, at certain positions and get, as many snaps as you can. And that's really what we value in the portal. Like we're going to dig into the portal. It's either somebody that we really know that we trust, that, hey, we know he's in the place for the right reasons. It just wasn't, working out for him for whatever that, that situation might be. But other than that, like we want guys who've had a lot of snaps, at that institution that's telling you that, hey, they were able to work their way to the top or near the top of the depth chart and played a lot of plays in college football already. And, I think the best teams that I've been a part of them, like you walk into those locker rooms and you have the most mature guys in the locker room. They understand that, hey, it's not a sprint, it's a marathon here, that you got to put in work every single day and be consistent if you're going to be a good football team.
I know you got a meeting to get to. I have one last question on the recruiting trail, and I know you can't be specific on this, but what have you found being out there, especially being back around here more in North Dakota and Minnesota, that has worked so far in terms of getting guys to want to commit to come to Grand Forks?
I just think it's the relationships, right? Like it's real connections. A major reason why I decided to come back to this area is I just want kids in the area to be like, hey, I don't have to go far away in order to get developed, in order to be able to play, really important football games and have an opportunity to get my name called on draft night. Like whatever my goals are, I don't have to fly halfway across the country to be able to do that. And, that's the part that I've been really impressed with our staff. We got a number of guys who are high-level, coaches and high-level recruiters, but really at the end of the day, they're really good husbands and fathers and good men, and they're low ego and high output, and they want to help kids succeed, right? And they're just good people, and that's the cool part about it. A number of guys that have, you look at like Isaac Frichte and some of those guys that have played in the NFL that have really good, names as far as, being in Minnesota and things like that in the area and have a good reputation. And, I can go down the list of guys all these guys that are in our offices that have developed guys and really changed their lives, right? Like I was talking to Coach Steps the other day, our corners coach, when I first met him at Southern Illinois. We had a corner whose name was Corey Lindsey. He didn't know what cover 1 was to cover 3 to whatever. And then 4 years, he got his name called on draft day. And as a young coach, that always stuck with me. I'm like, hey, you changed that kid's life. Like, poured into him every day, really developed a relationship with him and figured out what he needed to do in order to get better and what his strengths and weaknesses were and developed them. And that's what this is all about. It's helping guys that are 18, 19, 20, 21 years old to be the best football players they can be, but their personal development too as well. Like help those guys become really, really productive citizens and self-sufficient and ready for the next phase of their lives when they leave here.
Great to talk, man. Thanks so much for doing this on short notice. Enjoy your summer. I know you get about a week off, and then it's back to work. But thanks for doing this, but we'll catch up during the summer, okay?
Awesome. Thanks, Dom. You have a great day.
There he goes, Eric Schmidt joining us, UND head football coach. As we now know, and we'll go through a little bit more of the TV times before we wrap up the show. We got some time around 10:35 that we'll save some time on that. But UND's, we've noticed it, and we've talked about it. I know we've had a couple of their recruits on the level of success that they've had, either whether it be on the recruiting trail or adding some guys that they needed to in the portal. And, again, if you missed it yesterday, we got announced the Big 12 had its every league put out a press release on the games that they were, even the Missouri Valley Football Conference did that, of the early season games. And remember, this year the Big 12 is actually starting its relationship with TNT as well. TNT decided, well, we're going to lose the NBA, but we'll get Big 12. And the games they got are not necessarily the headline ones. But UND's game with Kansas State will be a 6 o'clock kickoff on August the 30th on ESPN+. So for the football rubes around here, the Bison game that day is at 11 a.m. kickoff in Charleston, South Carolina. And then you've got little bit of time because there's a good game going on in the middle of the day that we're not preempting, which is good news for us on WDAY. And then later that night, you've got UND and K-State. Actually, in the middle of the afternoon on Fox, not trying to give them any pub, South Dakota plays Iowa State. The first game for Travis Johansson as head coach of the Coyotes will be in the middle of the afternoon. So that's a little tasty lineup to get going to the start of the season. All right, we're due for a break. We'll take it now. We come back, get my interview. If we have time, my interview with Parker Puetz will get in. Max Iversen coming up as well. NDSU new basketball commit before we wrap up a busy first hour. Back on Hot Mic right after this. Welcome back, everybody. Busy Friday show rolls on. We'll do some Friday picks for my dad. He knows this. Maybe he doesn't. Yankees-Dodgers play tonight. That's an Apple TV game. We haven't even talked about the NASCAR Amazon stuff. We're going to do that during the show in the second hour, but he might not be thrilled that the Yankees-Dodgers game is on Apple TV tonight. We'll do that coming up in our second hour. Speaking of baseball, the NCAA tournament starts today. Regionals across the country, including Fayetteville, Arkansas, where North Dakota State will be playing later today, 2 o'clock, against the third-seeded Razorbacks in the first game of double elimination, in there with Creighton and Kansas as the other 4 teams that are part of the regional. And there you have it right there. That's the matchups coming up, and Creighton and Kansas will play later today. You got to win 3 games to move on to the Supers. If you lose, then you got to go the long way. And you can see that if the Bison happen to lose this game, they'll play tomorrow at 2 o'clock. And if they win that, then they come back and play on Sunday. And if you win that, you get to Monday. That's the long road to go. So you can't lose twice. You do that, you're done. And they're going to have a big challenge with an Arkansas team that can rip it at the plate. One of the guys that we may see this weekend is standout pitcher Parker Puetz, who in 2023, freshman, broke on the scene, was going to be the next big thing for Bison baseball. Unfortunately, things went off the rails. His first start of 2024 came off with an injury, ended up being Tommy John surgery, and it's been a long road back. He returned in the middle part of this year and is starting to give the Bison some innings. I visited with him about last week before the Bison got set to go to Omaha for the Summit League tournament to talk about the road back and potential to get back to where he was. My conversation here with Bison pitcher Parker Puetz.
It's obviously tough with injury to come back, but I always had a good support system around me, the athletic training staff, all my coaches, all my teammates. So I had no worries coming back, being on the field.
I've talked, Parker, with other guys that, ACL tears, they know how long that is. Tommy John's a different deal because it's a mental deal. How mentally challenging is this been?
Yeah, it's tough because, like, with those other things is you're just kind of a normal human, and after, the first 5 or 6 months, you're back to feeling a little bit more normal, just minus the throwing, and you're kind of moving around, doing all the things that everybody else is doing. So it's tough to be, healthy in a sense, but still not be able to go out and compete as you'd like to. So it's obviously tough, and it takes a toll, but, it's just every day it's a new day, and you just got to go attack the day.
Did you know right away when it happened, like, this is bad?
Yeah, for the most part. I mean, I threw that one pitch, and something felt weird and didn't feel good, and then I threw one more after that. That one felt a little bit worse, and figured that it probably wasn't good, and had a good idea of what it was just right away. And unfortunately, but that's kind of how it is.
It's no blessing, but to be the first game of the season, just to say, okay, well, maybe there's a chance I can get back in 2025.
Yeah, and that's kind of the mindset too. I mean, it happened in the first game of the season, like you said, so being able to be like, all right, well, we can obviously take the rest of this season and this next year to really rehab it and get back and still make a push towards the end of the season of this year to get back on the field.
Gut punch goes without saying because how well you pitched in 23. Just how did you deal with that?
It's tough, and as the pitching is evolving too. It's just kind of getting more and more normal to see this happen, unfortunately. Yeah. And it's kind of just the risk you kind of play with going out there on the field every day is, and at some point, maybe it's not a great way of thinking, but at some way it's just, it might just happen. And that's kind of the mental mindset that I had. And obviously you're never thinking about it, when you're on the mound. But once it happens, you're like, well, it happened. There's nothing you can do now. So you just got to look forward and see see what you can do to get back.
Unfortunately, you're in a pretty exclusive group of fraternity that has suffered. There's top light guys in the majors that have had Tommy John. Does that make you feel any better that, okay, this guy had it and he's back?
Yeah, for sure. And there's obviously, as all the medical stuff is getting way better too, I mean, you just see more and more guys that are coming back, to where they were before. So that's obviously always really, it's confidence thing too, seeing that, hey, I can get back to where I was and I can still perform at a high level.
Where are you at then percentage-wise, would you say right now?
I feel like we're just still working towards that 100%, and maybe that 100% just looks a little bit different now than it used to. And, I think we're still just getting to a good place. And obviously for the next couple of years, it's just going to be building back to what it was. So, I mean, just taking every day as it comes.
Hearing you say that, is that hard to adjust to? Is that frustrating to say maybe it won't be what it was?
Yeah, for sure. It's obviously a tough one, but I think the best thing is you just got to work hard to get back to where you were. And now there's just kind of, I don't want to say no new expectations, but there's just so much different coming into it that you can just be like, well, let's see what happens. That's kind of the best thing that I've thought of is, it is what it is, but let's see where I can go. Let's see what I can do.
What was the emotion like getting back out on the mound, though, this year in a game and throw? What?
Yeah.
Tell me what that was like.
I mean, it was overwhelming, and I got a little bit nervous, obviously, kind of like back to freshman year, that first outing. But, it's obviously getting back to it after something like that is pretty nerve-wracking, but it was very exciting, and just kind of taking it all in and just trying to soak it all in was a lot of fun.
So you have like a pitch count limitation right now, or where are you at with Coach Oakes in terms of what I can do out there?
Yeah, so that's kind of just how it is, building back up, and I'm still under just still building up and seeing what I can do. And we've gotten into a pretty good spot where it's just managing workloads to make sure that I'm just not overdoing it, make sure I'm pushing myself enough that I'm comfortable to get out there and do enough stuff, but still just kind of just taking it as it comes too. And every day is going to be a little bit different. Some days you're going to be feeling good, some days you're not, and just kind of taking it as it comes.
We had a front row seat, unfortunately, to see how this team has played. What kind of different perspective did that give you about what kind of baseball team you have?
I mean, we got a great team, and we've been playing really good baseball. Just not, just making one more play each game, because we'll turn that around. And I've been able to kind of see all that, even last year as well. Just obviously just taking it all in. And I mean, I think we're in a great spot. We've been playing good ball, and we're in a great spot as a team to go make a run.
A couple of years ago, you were in the position that Danny was in about being a freshman and making an impact. Have you given him any tips on that about, hey, we're thrown into the fire?
Yeah, a little bit, but a lot of it's just go out there and do your thing. I mean, these guys are all looking at you, and he's performing very, very well, obviously, too. So it's just go out and do your thing. I mean, it's no different than any other game, just trying to take the mindset of, it's just baseball. Just go out and play, go out and do your thing, and good things will happen.
Last thing for you, just how grateful you feel to put the uniform on, be back out.
I mean, it's amazing to be able to put it on every day and enjoy the group of guys that we got. It's very great to be a part of it, and I'm grateful for it every single day.
My conversation there with Bison righty Parker Puetz, who was on his way back, and hopefully we can get to see that electricity that came out of his right arm when he threw the baseball. You saw a little bit of the highlights from when he was at the top of his game back in 2023. Achilles is up there. I know Tommy John happens more and more, and we talked about that in the interview, but it is a long road back, and we'll see if he gets out there this weekend. He pitched in the first championship game a week ago, Saturday, against Oral Roberts, and that was his best outing of the season. Just keeps getting out there, pitching longer, and we'll see if he's asked to help out. It'll be Nolan Johnson, though, getting the call today from the Bison for their game at 2 against Arkansas. We'll break. We come back. We'll wrap up our first hour to hear from NDSU's newest men's basketball commit. Just came in yesterday. Delano's Max Iversen is going to join us. We come back right after this. Welcome back, everybody. Wrapping up our first hour. Big second hour plan. My Pops will be back on. Got some good stuff coming up then. We'll have Max Iversen join us here in just a minute from Delano, Minnesota. North Dakota State now has 2 commits for 2026 in the boat. It's interesting because Dave talked to us when he was here last week, right? It was just last week in studio about still maintaining the high school route, and this is their second guy. Amir Danforth was their first out of Illinois, and now they've gone back to an area out of the Twin Cities that they have used that area a lot, and it's certainly worked out. The likes of Rocky Cruiser come right to mind. in terms of guys that they've went down to the Twin Cities, and Vinny Shaheed, another that they have certainly been able to exploit that area to their benefit. And it's intriguing, though, to have that many high school guys already for not, the incoming guys, the 26 class, because that's not how this works nowadays. It just doesn't in terms of getting that kind of early commitment, knowing full well. And Richmond explained this a little bit when he was on the show last week, that now no one's actually even going down the high school route. They're typically, well, we're going to wait, see what transfers we get, and then if we need a supplement, then we can go find a high school player. And there's going to be some really, I think, talented high school guys that are probably still going to be available later on down the road. And one of those guys right here joins us in the middle of school. I don't know if this is the last day of school. Max Iversen joined.
Almost.
When are you done? When's your last day?
Last day is Tuesday.
Okay.
We got two half days and they're finals both days, and then we're done.
Well, first, congratulations. Thanks for joining us, man. And tell us why. Why was NDSU the pick?
Well, I mean, biggest thing was relationship I had with Coach Richmond and the staff. They've been recruiting me for a whole year, and the relationship was special. Like they were invested in me not only as a player but as a person too, and I think that was the biggest part.
Now, I know you've dealt with an injury as well. Can you give us a little backstory of basketball and getting on the floor and now making Division I a reality for you?
Yeah, of course. So I started last high school season. I tweaked my back pretty bad. I was lifting a lot, and then so I missed about a good half of the season. And Richmond and Jones came to a game, and then I finished the season off. We lost first round of sections. I didn't play, which sucked. But then AU started. I did a ton of, physical therapy, rehab, working a ton, and then back to 100%. And then this AU year has been huge. I've been playing great. Our team's been doing well. And then, they came last tournament and played great. Our team won, and they offered, and it was great.
Were you worried about basketball going forward with how serious was your back injury?
It wasn't too serious because, all it took was time.
Yeah.
Time of rehab, strengthening the muscles around it. So, in my mind, it was tough to miss games, but, I knew it. Just got to stick with it.
I guess the counterpoint of that, you don't have time right now, right? This is the recruiting. You got to be out there.
I know,
to play.
exactly. So that was a little scary, but I knew I'd get through it.
I was just, how do you balance that? Like, okay, I want to be out there to play, but it's no good if I'm not fully healthy to be out there.
Yeah, that was the thing. So when I was playing, I was trying to play through it, and I'm like, then I had a big talk with my parents. It's like, you'd almost rather be not playing than be out there and not playing 100%. So we decided, take a couple weeks off. As much as it sucked, I had to take some games off and just get my back strong. So.
Was this, Max, part of the plan of recruiting now? Did you have a timeline of this, or is, hey, whenever I feel like I found my team, this is when I'm going to do it?
So, yeah, so you mean like when I committing to NDSU,
yeah.
Right? Yeah, so, I went on a visit there last fall. I went to a football game and toured the campus, and they haven't offered me yet, but deep down I knew, this is the place I want to be, And then, AU, I've been hearing from a ton of other coaches. But nothing, in my mind, I'm deep down, I don't got that same relationship that I do with Richmond and them, and when they offered me, I was like, oh, that's great. I know I wanted to initially wait, see if I could hear from other schools, but then, I knew NDSU was a perfect place, so I didn't want to wait any longer. Called Richmond, called the coaches, committed. It was great.
What was the reaction to coming to the football game? What was that like?
It was a big atmosphere. I think it was homecoming too.
Okay.
I think it was homecoming, so it was great. It was fun. It was super fun.
They're no dummies. They know what games to bring you to.
Yeah, exactly.
How much did you know, Max, about NDSU and its basketball history? Was that something you knew, or you had to find out about?
No, I've been following the Summit League and NDSU since I was little, and especially once they started texting me, I followed along. I know Andy Stefanowicz.
Yep.
I worked out with him a couple times, Minnesota. And, then I followed them ton this last year. Went to a game. They played, I believe, Illinois State. and that was a close game. Yep. So yeah, it's just great. I love the program.
I got to ask, we talk often from recruits in the Twin Cities. You're down there. The level of basketball, man. You're especially in AAU right now. Can you describe what that is like on a day-to-day basis of what you're playing against?
Oh yeah, it's intense. Even practices with our team, like we just found out our whole AAU team has a Division I scholarship.
Wow.
So yeah, that's just insane. But yeah, practices are tough. The competition, we're playing quick kids who are going and getting high major looks, from California, Florida, and all those. So it definitely gets me better, which is great.
Is that hard to fight for minutes, man? I'm sure you don't want to come off the floor, but you got other guys that want to play too.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it is. It's a much different role from the high school season. So when you're out there, you want to maximize your minutes, play the best you can, and almost play good. So they got to keep you out there.
How much does this change, Max, for you, your timeline in terms of now that you are committed of your summer? Were you planning on doing other camps? I know you're playing AAU ball, but does that change what your plans were for this summer now?
I mean, yeah, for sure, a little bit. Like I was, usually planning on going to a ton of college camps, prospect camps. There's it's called the NBCA Showcase, Minnesota. Like I was gonna go to that, but now it's like I feel like I'm good. I'm gonna be at the NDSU camp, I believe June 8th and 9th. So that'll be fun to get back up on campus and stuff. So
tell us about your game. We just saw a little bit of highlights of you. For people that haven't seen you play, how would you describe you on the floor?
Well, I mean, I'd say I'm a pretty good scorer, right? I mean, I'm quicker than most other people, so I can get a good first step. But I'd say best part of my game is my shooting ability, being able to, I have deeper range. And then lately I've been getting up and dunking, which has been great. I've been working on that for years. So.
I was going to say, so have you done that before, or is it now just starting to happen for you on the dunks?
First in-game dunk was this last year in high school, and then I just kept doing it, and then I got a couple in game in AAU, and it just keep building off that.
I had a couple people text me that follow high school ball in Minnesota far better than I do, saying you're one of the best shooters in the state of Minnesota. What's that mean to you when you hear that?
I mean, I've put so much time into it, so it means a lot to me. Like I'll get up before school. We got a shooting machine. I get tons of shots up before school, after school. So definitely work on it. So that's a great thing to hear from people.
To see what NDSU did last year as well, how they played in terms of how many threes they shot, was that a natural fit for you?
That really excited me too. Yeah. And like the pace they play at, it seems like literally the perfect fit for me. So that's why I wanted to commit as soon as I could.
You mentioned working out with Andy. Did he give you any tips of like, hey, this is what it's like? Did you get that far deep in the conversation at all?
So no, I worked out with him before he went NDSU, before he went to campus and stuff. But I know I called him once, once he was there, he said he loves it and only had good things to say. So that only helped it.
So have you celebrated yet? Is that coming this weekend of having this done, or what are the plans on that?
So I waited to commit. My birthday's today.
Oh, all right.
So I waited.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. Yeah, so I waited to commit day before, so yeah, I can just celebrate this weekend with it.
Boy, that's a double whammy, man. That's pretty good stuff. What's school been like today?
Not too bad. So this week we're all just kind of studying for our finals, so it's nice and easy. So I talked to my teacher. He let me get out of class for like 30 minutes. So actually, thank you. So now I can skip a little bit of school.
I don't want to get you in trouble, but if your buddy's been giving you a hard time about committing, what's the reaction at school been like?
Oh, it's been great. I mean, my whole school's like reposting it, liking it. Nice. So that's great. Like the bond I have with all them. But yeah, they joke around with me. It's been a fun week.
For people that don't follow, for Delano, who you guys normally playing? Like who's the big rival, and what are the games during the season you guys really get up for?
So we got a big rival with Orono High School, where Brady Woolley, who's going to Yale, Nolan Groves just committed to Texas Tech. That's always a big one. And then I'd say we play a couple other smaller schools that are little rivals. But, I mean, we played Alexandria this year, which was fun. We got a packed crowd for that. That was really fun.
And they won the state
championship.
Maple
Grove, who was a state contender. Yeah. So, yeah, it was fun. We get some good crowds for the big game, so that's always the best.
Well, bud, I really appreciate you carving some time out for us. Congratulations. Enjoy your birthday, man, and be well. Have a great summer. We'll catch up soon, okay?
Thank you. I got one more thing to say. I wanted to get on the show so I could ask something about some yellow pants I've been hearing about.
Did Richmond tell you that? Oh my God!
He didn't tell me, but I was listening to that one and heard that, so I wanted to ask.
Mustard pants.
Mustard pants.
He's not a fan of that. So when you get up here, you'll see it firsthand. I promise.
Perfect.
Okay?
Perfect. Thank you so much for having me.
Congratulations, man! Happy birthday.
Thank you again.
There he goes, Max Iversen from Delano, Minnesota. Man, look at that. The guy's doing his homework, so we know that. He knows what's up. That's a first. That's good stuff there. Appreciate that. And there you go. The Bison now with 2 commits for class of 2026. That was fantastic. We got to save that for the highlight reel. That was good. We'll break. We come back. Another highlight reel. We'll start hour 2 with my pops. We haven't seen him in a bit. We'll talk everything going on, including Amazon's first NASCAR race. We got to get the download from Dad. That's coming up. We start hour 2 right after this.
This is Hot Mike.
Hot Mike.
On the networks of WDAY.
WDAY.
Here's Dom Izzo.
If that was me and you, if you'd have went with a Boston, you'd have been living in the garage. I had a Yankee hat on, of course, which I usually almost always do, but she says to me, if I were you, I'd take that hat off. And I looked at what look at to begin with. I ain't taking my hat off. I know where I am. Yeah, right.
You believe anything that guy says? Because I don't.
He said he was going to marry J-Lo, too, remember? Come on. I finally told your mom. I said, there's no sense. Let's just put TVs in the room because I'm only going to wake them up anyway. So
that's how I got a television? All right. I feel like we haven't heard this in forever. There he is. Yeah, we're starting the 10 o'clock hour the best way we can. There's my dad. What's up, Pops? What's going on?
Much. Good. How's it going?
We're doing all right here. It's a big day around this part of the world. Last day of school for Courtney and the Jackman. And
see, that's awesome.
So I sent you a photo. I want to do a side-by-side here. This is crazy. So we took a photo. Obviously, everybody does this, and we're now in the party of it. First day of kindergarten in late August to now last day of kindergarten in late May. That's the first day of kindergarten. Look at him there. Okay. Now look at him. He's sprouted, man. I can't. He's unbelievable. I didn't notice this. I see him every day, but you noticed it right away.
Oh, yeah. It's a big difference.
Look at him. Oh, my God.
Every time I see him, I can see a difference in him when you don't see him all the time. You know? It's crazy.
I didn't show the video yet. We'll wait till next week of his left-handed power swing at T-ball. He got his first couple, like you. You're a lefty. He's cracking him, man.
The second one you sent me was real good. Yeah, real good connection there. But that's awesome.
He's got to get used to it. He doesn't have this is a weighted bat. I got to go buy one of those this weekend because that's different than the whip ball. So we got that coming up. So
yeah, it takes a while to get used to it, but he will.
All right,
he was swinging it pretty good.
He's doing it. You've seen that up close. Everybody's on bated breath to get your thoughts on. Amazon had its first NASCAR race last week. How'd they do?
Excellent. I thought.
Really?
But I had the same thing I had with football. It was blurry for the first hour maybe, and it came across my screen. If you're having trouble, it's your modem. So it must be everybody was. I don't know. Why would it just come across my screen? But I mean, it straightened right out. The last half of the race was picture perfect.
So that's an internal thing is what they're doing there. That your internet needs to get cranked up is what they're probably trying to tell you. So
there's not a chance of that. They want to crank up my price is what they want to do. They're going to go a long way before they get to me. I'll tell you that.
Okay, so beyond that though, how did it look? How did the production go? Because that's what I was.
I thought it was really good.
Okay,
nice. I love the announcer. I'll accept Junior, but he's getting better. He was a lot better this time around. So, and it was pretty good.
Okay, so how many? They have the next 5 or 6 races is what they have, right?
They have 5 to go. I think. It's 6 altogether.
And then TNT has the next batch of races after that. So
yeah,
all right.
Or no, maybe it's only 4 and 4.
Okay.
Same announcers, just different networks.
Correct.
And I love the end. They kept it on the end an hour after the race.
Oh, they had an hour post-race show?
It was almost an hour post-race. Wow. It was awesome. They brought them all in, Junior, it was really pretty good. So.
All right.
I liked it.
From what I read, they got pretty good reviews, and that's the thing. Yeah. They've done this, obviously, with football, and it's worked out. Obviously, Thursday Night Football has become pretty darn good on Amazon. And obviously, they're going to get the NBA next year. That they're they're going full in. They're spending the money on it that they're gonna. It has to look good.
And I'll tell you, last night I watched. They had a documentary on the old man Earnhardt
On Amazon.
I watched the first 3. I watched the last one tonight. That was really good.
Okay,
so.
All right. Well,
But he was my guy right there. That was he all the way through. I loved watching him.
So they gave you sign off on it. So if it's got your seal of approval, then we're all set. So
I'll tell you what, Fox pregame on the Indy was awesome.
Really?
Yeah, that was really good.
But
they really screwed up at the start of the race.
Okay.
Not even the starter, was the parade lap. The favorite crashed
I
on
saw
the
that.
parade lap.
Yes.
And they missed it. They missed it. They had an in-car camera of it, but they missed the camera shot.
So they had no shot of him crashing.
Nope, only the in-car camera
That's
showed
not
it.
great.
That was it.
The only thing I heard out of Fox was there was way too many commercials.
Well, you're always going to have that. That's your TV boys making their money. They got to pay for it somehow, right?
You got to pay our salary. Come on now. Hello.
But on this 75-inch, when they go split screen, I mean, I'm getting a regular TV picture. Man, that's pretty awesome.
So he's updated folks to the 21st century, so he's just enjoying high definition for the first time.
I'm not upgrading my internet though. They keep sending me emails.
Easy.
They want to come to my house. No, it ain't happening.
All right,
Stay
so because Gronk was on the broadcast, I saw that right on.
Yeah,
Indy.
if you notice, they had all the football.
Yeah, well, Brady was there.
People,
yeah,
all the football guys, but nobody from Fox NASCAR except Jamie Little.
Interesting. Huh.
Yeah, and the guy that done all the hosting there. What's his name?
Chris Myers. Yep.
Yes. Him and Jamie Little were the only two from NASCAR.
Okay. How was Tony
all
Stewart?
All the other ones were the football guys.
Yeah. How was Tony Stewart? Was he any good?
Yeah, I like Tony Stewart.
Okay.
He did real good.
All right. So there it is.
I thought he did anyway.
He got the seal of approval from Pops on
Yep.
that.
I'll watch him again.
Now, you may have been watching earlier, so this may not be breaking news, but we got Yankees-Dodgers this weekend, right? We're ready to roll?
I see that, yep. I'll be on the radio call.
Yes.
I like the radio call anyway, so unless Michael Kay's doing it, I want to listen to it.
So you're not ponying up for Apple TV tonight is what you're telling me?
Nope, not a chance.
All right.
Not for a Yankee game. I can see how many of them, you know.
Well, less than you could a long time ago. That's the thing.
Yeah, that's true, too. I'll just put him on the radio. That's all.
Well, Judge right now is at a pace where he's MVP level stuff right now. I mean, this is crazy what he's doing right now.
The whole team's doing pretty good, really. I hate the third baseman got hurt, but I mean they dished him in the playoffs last year, and I thought that was stupid. But,
yeah. But now
he brought the whole team together, you know.
Correct. But now it's the Dodgers. I mean, you got this is, right from last year. Just you got memories from what happened last fall now.
Right. You mean when we should have won the first 2 games and we didn't?
Yes. Yeah, here we go. Yes. Well, no, you should have won the 5th game. That's the game you should have won. You were up. You had your ace on the mound.
It would have never made a 5th game if we'd done the first 2. We'd have had a sweep.
Oh, man. Your division stinks, by the way. That division normally is great, but the Yankees are up 6 games. Tampa, Toronto, the Red Sox aren't good. Baltimore has already fired their manager. What's going on?
That might change.
I don't think so. The best division right now is the National League East, and you know it. Because the Phillies are good, the Mets are good, the Braves are coming. You know it. Yes. Yes. You sound like an owl. That's the good division. That's the one right now. So
yeah. Well, one of them can beat the Dodgers. So what are you worried about?
Can you reveal on the air when you last talked to my son who he's cheering for these days?
He said the Yankees. I'm finally getting to him.
So
I'd send him some Yankee stuff, but you guys would probably throw it away.
So is this the exact reaction that you had when I told you that I was going to go to the Mets? Is I guess my question.
I just walked to the garage and cried. I couldn't believe I lost him. But I knew you'd regret it years down the road.
I'm regretting it now that he looked right at me and goes, "Dad, I want the Yankees to win." I'm like, "What? What did you just say?" No. It's bad enough the Cubs thing. I've lost that one, but he's not. We're not doing the Yankees. No way.
And I love he wants me to shave.
Yes.
He told me he wants me to shave.
Yes.
I told Sophie that, and she said, shave it right now. I says, no, we'll wait till Jack's here, then I'll shave.
You are looking a little haggard there. It's
Yeah, I kind of like it.
long. All right, before we go, your Steelers are going to roll with Mason Rudolph. Is that, you told me that? Looks like that's going to happen. Is that the deal?
Well, this whiny crybaby don't want to make up his mind, so who knows? You know how that goes.
I lived it for 2 years, man. Good riddance. Go for it.
Probably,
go be a
he's probably
Steeler.
mad because Pittsburgh don't have a dark room where he can hide it, Who knows?
Yeah, I don't know. That's bizarre.
I don't. Who knows what's going on? But I don't think Rudolph is their answer. But
No, but I think, you know what? You roll with those guys, and then you set yourself up for then go get a quarterback in 2026. I wouldn't go Aaron Rodgers.
If they tank the whole year, they can get Manning. So go for it.
The Steelers never do that. Ever.
No, they never will.
Right. That's just the deal on that. So
somebody's going to get him at the end of the year. So we'll see.
You know who the betting line favorite right now is to win the Super Bowl? Have you seen this? It's not.
Nope.
It's Buffalo. It's the Bills right now.
Yeah, well, they have to do Buffalo. Come on. Sooner or later, they got to beat the Chiefs.
Do they? I don't know. I mean,
I don't believe they can do it this year. I really don't. I think this year,
Manning
Kansas City's going to be on fire.
That'll be
again.
the revenge tour there, I would think, for the Chiefs. But I mean, Manning only beat Brady once when he was in Indianapolis, and granted, that was the 1 year they won the Super Bowl. But even if you beat Kansas City, Philadelphia still. It's not like the Eagles have fallen off. Philadelphia's still been really good.
Yeah, Philadelphia should have never beat the Rams. Come on. If it wasn't for the snow, they wouldn't have beat the Rams.
That is a good point. L.A. was, that game.
Did you see how they booed Brady in Indy?
Of course. It's Indianapolis. Of course they're going to boo him.
They booed him pretty good. That was good.
Man. All right, what do you got planned this weekend? What's going on? Anything good?
Local racing starts. So
All
hopefully
right.
the weather will help us and I can get there.
All right. Did you you got 2 picks here. Did you win any money on the Knicks last night or what?
No, what's his name for Indian cost me a
Halliburton?
Nope.
Oh. Siakam?
Yeah, the MVP dude. Did he get 10 points or something? Oh, my God. He's saving it for tomorrow night.
Well, maybe for tomorrow night. Eric's asking for a NASCAR pick in Nashville. What do you got?
Chase Elliott.
I was going to say, Eric's going to the race, right? You're going? Yeah, he's going. So he's going to be there. So you got to give him. You said Chase Elliott? Is that who you're going
Yep.
with?
I do believe Larson's going to spank them all, but he's a little upset after last weekend.
So did he wreck at Indianapolis? Or
Yeah.
he wreck? Okay. All right.
He caused the wreck.
Oh, he
too.
caused a wreck. Yeah.
He downshifted when he never should have, I guess, and then whoop, lost it.
I don't think people understand how difficult it is to do both of those in one day.
Well,
That's
there's
just crazy.
nothing more difficult than IndyCar at 200,
Crazy.
So,
all right, Pops. Good to see you, my man. I love you. And have a great weekend. We'll talk to you later, all right?
okay, man. Love you too. Have fun.
There he goes. My Pops with a special Friday appearance. We're getting ever closer to the start of football season. Of course, our Stone Cold Picks, which we do each and every Friday throughout the season. We'll start it a little bit earlier, I'm sure, probably for some college football and go through his, because we did the division picks. I don't know how well he made out on that, but we'll do that getting closer to the start of the season. That was awesome. We're overdue for a break. We caught up. We got a few emails to catch up on, and we'll dive into the college football FCS TV selections. So you've been waiting. We now know. We'll do that when Hot Mike returns here on a Friday morning, wrapping up the week after this. Welcome back, everybody. That was good stuff. Final 30-some-odd minutes of our week and getting ready for a busy sports weekend. Again, we're going to be deployed everywhere. We'll give you all of the TV info before we wrap up the show. I got a couple emails I wanted to get to from earlier. We were just packed with stuff and with guests, so we didn't have a chance to read it here. Dom, thanks for the amazing coverage of all the high school sporting events. Great job. Well done. What more needs to be said? Thanks again. Appreciate that from a longtime viewer of our show. Awesome. Dom, keep up the great coverage of the North Dakota High School Championships. Thank you. Camera coverage comment. The best camera coverage of baseball and softball is directly behind home plate. That way we can see what all or most of the players are doing. If players are on base, we can see how they respond to hits and pitches. We can see how players in the field get ready for pitches and anticipations of bunts. Show the full field. This email sent as criticism of camera coverage of just a pitcher, batter, and catcher that Major League Baseball stupidly does. Thank you for your perspective on the Timberwolves. It's an interesting team. Appreciate that. We always appreciate comments. Hey, we like people watching. That's better than the alternative if nobody is watching. And certainly from our analytic numbers that I was checking out when we were on the air yesterday, it certainly seemed that people were interested. And that was the case last week. Found that out with soccer in a big-time way, or excuse me, with track and field in a big-time way, and have certainly seen that the case over the last day and a half of what we've done with state tournament stuff. And, this was something when we decided and we got the contract for the Tier 2 tournaments, we knew, okay, volleyball ended up being huge. That one I missed. I didn't know how big that would be. Volleyball was really big in the fall, and obviously they're going to the 3 classes coming next fall, that will be a logistical challenge for us, but that was a big deal. I thought wrestling would be really big, and it was. It was not as big as track. And I'll give full props to Stace on that one. He called that the track was going to be huge, and it was in terms of our viewership, in terms of our analytics, everything about it. I think that was a big deal. Then we knew this weekend was going to be a real chore. It was going to be with the amount that was going on, with the amount of people we have, and everything happening at the same time, that was going to be a large lift. And we got the hard day out of the way. Any tournament, when you got 4 games in a day, doesn't matter if we're doing basketball, if we're doing volleyball, whatever, that's the hard day. And we got that one through, and I think without minimal scarring. So excited to see what the next couple days will hold with that. The weather is going to be intriguing, as we talked about, with the haze and the smoke from the Canadian wildfires that is going to be an issue, and the heat's going to be up there as well for not only today's semis but tomorrow's, especially the ones in the middle part of the day. But the games that are at noon and 2 o'clock tomorrow, that's going to be a toasty affair, because we have Class A softball starting at noon and then Class A baseball at 2. Those are going to be warm up in Grand Forks on that. So we'll see, but excited to get that rocking and rolling, and we'll give you the full details on that tomorrow. Let's see, a couple other things that we didn't get a chance to get to yesterday. We spoke plenty on the Wolves. They had their exit meetings and exit interviews yesterday. Naz Reid said he wants to be back, but with a larger role. I'm still too close to it now about what I want to see from what the team does, of who comes back and who doesn't. Would I like to have Naz back? Sure. But he's got to do more than what he did in the postseason. That left a lot to be desired there. Under no pretense, I don't believe Nickeil Alexander-Walker is coming back. He's going to get paid, and that's he's going to be out of their price range. I'm looking at what the Star Tribune did yesterday. As the Wolves into the offseason, 3 of those 8 have uncertain contract statuses. Nickeil Alexander-Walker is an unrestricted free agent. He's gone. He's been really good the last couple of years. Awesome pickup by Tim Connolly to get him in the D'Lo trade. They got Mike Conley and Naw for D'Angelo Russell. That was a heck of a turn. Julius Randle and Naz Reid both have player options that can make them free agents should they choose to opt out. Reid agreed his plan was to decline his $15 million player option when asked if he expected to opt out and look for a long-term deal in Minnesota or elsewhere. Naz said, for sure, I think the work has been put in. Obviously, I've got a long way to go with only being 25, but for sure, I think that's what the future looks like for me. Reid signed a 2-year deal with a player option for a 3rd year 2 summers ago, And he was the sixth man of the year last year. Averaged a career-high 14 points per game this season. Reed said he views himself as a starter in the NBA, but he would be open to returning to the Wolves in the six-man role if the team ends up with Rudy Gobert and Randall back in the front court. Remember, Rudy got a extension. Eric, you look that up? I forget when Rudy signed an extension. I think it was right when the season started. I can't remember how long. Please. And then obviously you got Randall. Randall's in the third year of a 4-year, $117 million contract. Said he hasn't given much thought to whether he will opt out of the final season. Now, if you would have told me in the middle of a Lakers series, and I think I said it, that you got pay Julius, you gotta pay Julius, that whatever you got to do it. And then the Western Conference Finals happened, and he disappeared in 2 of the games. Randall said, I will say that I love it here, and this is the most meaningful basketball that I've played in my career. From all the organization has made me feel, from just my teammates and playing with Ant, is our leader. I love it. There's a lot to be excited about. I haven't really thought about it, but I'll say having the ability to compete for a championship is everything that I asked for at this point in my career. So we'll see. That's the best way to describe it. And the drafting of Dillingham and Terrence Shannon Jr., they have got to play. They can't just sit and be players 10 and 11 on the bench. I think Shannon showed you that for what he did in games 3, 4, and 5 of the Western Conference Finals, that he's got to get out there and play. So Conley's got some moves to make, and it's going to be fat. He's not sat on his laurels at all since he's taken over this job. Consistently, they have remade the roster. Go back to last year on draft night. The Wolves had no pick. There was nothing. And before you knew it, they were drafting in the mid-teens and got 2 guys somehow out of last year. So I have full confidence that he's going to be able to make something happen there. You have the deal on Rudy, what the contract was on Gobert? Sorry.
3 years, $110 million, signed October 25th.
So it's 3 years. All right.
Right before the season started.
Well, okay, what would you do if you're Tim Conley? Who's staying, who's going?
I would probably keep Nas, try to work out an extension with Randall to lower his cap hit. Obviously keep Ant.
Nikhil's gone, though, right?
Yeah,
he's not coming. He's going to get paid.
Where's he going to go?
I don't know. He's going to get paid, though. Somebody will overpay him. That's the way it works.
The NBA. The Thunder are the clear threat right now.
Yeah, you figured out how to beat Denver, but now you got to figure out how to beat Oklahoma City. That's the problem.
Luka Garza's probably gone. He doesn't really play. DiVincenzo, you got to figure out something with him.
Got to figure him out.
He disappeared in the playoffs.
Yes. Yep. It was rough for Dante.
McDaniels, you keep him, you pay him.
Yep.
I don't know what he's got left on his contract.
Yeah, Jaden, they just re-upped him not that long ago. Jaden and Ant, you build around. There's no doubt about that. But I think the young guys got to play. You got to play Shannon. You got to play Dillingham.
Shannon's got to play. Shannon's got to be your 7th, 8th guy off the bench.
Yeah, I agree on that. I agree. I'm 50-50 on Nas coming back. I don't know.
Nas says he wants to stay in Minnesota.
I know, but I don't know if the Wolves want him to stay. That's the thing on that. All right, we'll break. We're overdue for one here. When we come back, the TV football selections are out for college ball to start 2025. The Big Sky got some juicy ones, too. We're going to discuss that. Final 20-some-odd minutes on a Friday morning and the week right after this. Welcome back, everybody. Final 20-some-odd minutes of our week here. Looking forward to the weekend. Back on Monday with a packed show. Sam Hurd will be back with us. We got a lot to get to. We'll talk a little bit about with Sam. We're going to get into here. Also, we're going to be into June when we're back on Monday. And the House settlement isn't done yet, which is supposed to take effect July 1, which would seem like they're running out of time. And maybe it's not going to get signed off by the judge. Don't know. But it's certainly a concern out there. Before we get to the football scheduling, this just dropped from we're into this time of year now when basketball teams, college basketball teams, will start getting out their non-conference schedules. Nebraska just announced theirs. The Husker men, you can see here, will play a variety of teams, including on the screen, you'll see they got the University of North Dakota there, bottom right. That's the Fighting Hawks playing in Lincoln on December the 21st. That is a Sunday, right before Christmas. So UND went down there a couple years ago. Paul Sather took his team down to play Nebraska. Actually scared the heck out of them in that game, and they're part of the night. So I'm not sure if we know any other UND's non-conference games prior to that. So Fighting Hawks will be taking on a Big Ten team. As far as we know right now, and we asked Dave about this when he was here last week, the Bison men have one game I know on the schedule. That's Southern Illinois here on November 17th, I want to say. The Bison women, we're going to have Jory Collins on soon. They are going to have Gonzaga come to the Shack, which adds a little spice to that considering there's a local flavor. Gonzaga will have Horace's standout player of the year, Jaden Hale, will be a freshman on the Zags women's basketball roster next year. So a little homecoming there. Gonzaga's also playing a game in Sioux Falls, if I remember right. But they'll be in Fargo. So as far as I know, Gonzaga and Tulane are two of the non-conference opponents that'll be coming to Fargo on the women's basketball side. So you add that on top of what they just experienced in the women's NIT and those games at the end with New Mexico State, Washington State, and Troy that were here. That was fantastic. Add a little buzz in the building. Those are the kind of opponents you want to have. Okay, so the big news yesterday on the football scheduling front, we knew the games, the dates of it. Now we know the networks. And obviously the big one yesterday for us here, I had heard, and I reported yesterday, that USD and NDSU was under serious consideration by ESPN in the Missouri Valley to be picked up. It ended up they did not take that game. They did take the Dakota Marker for the second year in a row. That game on October the 25th in Brookings will be on an ESPN channel. We don't know when, and we don't know what network. I imagine it's going to be an evening kickoff for the Bison and Jacks in Brookings. But that game will be on one of the ESPN channels. Now, since we have a 2-hour show and we can have fun and have a little bit more time to decipher this, we can look ahead and see the big-name games that weekend. Granted, I know nobody's played a game yet, but that particular Saturday, here are some of the games that ESPN would have that could potentially move out of the way. Because what both schools want, and now, granted, neither school is thrilled. Maybe, I don't know. I won't say that. Neither television partner is thrilled the game is gone. Midco isn't happy, and Midco lost 2 games that they're losing the Jacks USD game for the second straight year. And we're not happy we don't get to do this game. I said it in a production meeting after I found this out, that the game in 2023 was probably the last time we're going to do the Bison Jacks in football. And so far, unfortunately, that's one time I'm right. Anyway, here are some of the games that are happening that weekend. Kansas State is playing Kansas. That can be any good? I don't know if that game's going to be any good. That would be a night kickoff. BYU, Iowa State. That's pretty good. Ole Miss, Oklahoma. Alabama, South Carolina. Now, one of those games is going to be on ABC, and another is going to be on ESPN. What I'm saying is, can the marker game get to ESPN too, like it did last year? Alabama, South Carolina is pretty darn good. At least right now, that's 9-13 in the country. I have to think ABC would take that game, right? That seems like a potential ABC game.
Yeah, the Kansas State game might go to Fox, but just because I know Kansas has been bad at football for a while, but they're on the up and up.
Yep.
Coming around with Lance Leipold, and it's been close the last couple of years.
LSU is hosting Texas A&M that weekend. That's another one that screams to me that could be ABC as well. What neither school wants, I can say this, is ESPNU. The Jacks experienced that last year with their game with South Dakota. The ratings were hurt on that. You don't want any part of ESPNU. So those are some of the games that are out there. And we won't know this date in terms of the network and the time till about 10 days out for the Dakota Marker game. There were a couple other announcements yesterday on the FCS side of things, television-wise, that we now can tell you. The FCS kickoff is going back to prime time. Davis and Mercer to start the season on August the 23rd will be a 7 o'clock kick Eastern time, 6 o'clock Central on ESPN. So that's nice that they're getting back into prime time on that. The following week, as we talked about earlier in the show, UND and Kansas State will be a 6 o'clock kickoff on ESPN+. Also, South Dakota will get on Fox for their game against Iowa State. Will be a 2:30 kick on Fox. That's pretty good. So clearly Fox thinks highly of Iowa State. And they're going to go and grab a top 5 FCS team to start the season. That's a huge deal for USD. That means USD's last 2 games will be on ABC and Fox. That's a big deal. It's a big deal for the Coyotes. Also yesterday, the Big Sky announced its television selections. You'll remember, and we're going to have the Big Sky commish, Tom Wistersill is going to join us on the show next week. We were exchanging text messages last night. So they got the president's meetings now, but we'll do it next week. Here are the games that they have. They have 4. Idaho and Montana on September the 27th. We don't know the time or channel yet, but that's pretty good from Missoula. October 24th, Montana at Sac State on a Friday, 9:30 on ESPN2. Let's go. I'm all right with that. Then on Halloween, I got another one. Idaho at Northern Arizona. Now, granted, NAU made the playoffs last year. They lost to Abilene Christian, you'll remember. 9:30 ESPN2. So the walk-up Sky Dome is going to be on national television on Halloween night. Let's go. And then their final game is UC Davis at Montana State, which was a great game last year. That game also was televised by ESPN2. That game late in the year in Bozeman, right before the Brawl of the Wild. And we don't know the time of the network. Now, why they can do this, and I applaud them moving to Friday. Frankly, I'd like the Valley to do that. I really would. If you're going to do it, play on a day where you have some flexibility and less games. That's what the Big Sky can do. But remember that their entire league is in the Mountain or Pacific time zone. And what do networks want? They want games in windows that nobody else is playing. And that's what they can do. You can play, Montana and Sac State can start. That's a 10:30 Eastern time start, right? 9:30 for us, but that's 10:30 on the East Coast. They love that because people will stay up and watch football. Now, are they going to stay up and watch Idaho, Northern Arizona on Halloween night at 10:30? We're going to find out. But that's what they've gone and done. I like it. I like the ingenuity of playing on Friday, and I would encourage maybe. And we talked with Jeff Jackson about this, the incoming Missouri Valley Football Conference commissioner, about being flexible with some dates. Maybe could you have Youngstown State play NDSU on a Friday? I don't know. Is that the end of the world? If it's going to get on ESPN2 and not ESPNU, sure. But that's what they ended up picking. Of course, this is part of the new contract with the Big Sky and ESPN, doubling exposure for nationally televised games with a minimum of 4 regular season contests televised on a Friday or Saturday. That makes all the sense in the world. Tip of the hat to the commish there for making that happen. And so those are some of the headline games that we know for the upcoming FCS season. So we can start penciling those in, and we now know at least the channel for some of those games. That means we're getting ever closer to the start of the season. It's awesome stuff. All right, we'll break. We come back. We'll wrap things up and get you ready for Final Four Friday in 5 different state tournaments. We'll tell you where to watch them, and we'll wrap up the week right after this. All right, wrapping things up here for the week. Looking forward to the weekend. Hope everybody gets out there, enjoys it. I got sent this from an eagle-eyed viewer who watches the show and told me I neglected to mention this because the boss upstairs would be interested in this. Yesterday also, and all the TV stuff came out. The Big Ten came out with its deal, and University of Minnesota has two Friday night games. One of them is at Oregon in November. The other, Eric, did you see this? Is Nebraska. Nebraska and Minnesota will play on Friday night in Minneapolis, October the 17th at 7 o'clock on Fox. Now, you and I were there at the last time the Huskers and the Gophers played in downtown Minneapolis. Our esteemed boss, one Stacey Anderson, was there as well. Where are the Bison at? Is that Indiana State weekend? Is that Terre Haute weekend, I think?
Yeah, it's Terre Haute.
Oh, boy.
Okay, who wants to watch Nebraska-Minnesota football on Friday night?
On Fox on October the 17th. There it is. So
I'd rather go watch a high school game.
Wow. So I don't know if we don't know if WDAY is televising the Bison Indiana State game. That could be picked up by the conference as the game of the week. So if Stace, he can go. If we don't do the game, he could go to Minneapolis if he wants.
No, he'll still come to Indiana State with us because he's got to produce the pregame show.
He doesn't need to go to Terre Haute. Come on.
He'll still go to Terre Haute.
I'll bet you on that. He can stay. I appreciate that email. That's good stuff. Okay. We normally do What to Watch with about a minute left in the show, but we got a bunch going on. So we're going to roll What to Watch now because we're going to lay out everything that we have TV-wise over the next 2 days since we're going to be obviously off for the weekend. So let's do it. What to watch? Easy for me to say. Okay, let's start it with Class A baseball. This is in Grand Forks. Semifinals start later today at 4:30 on WDAY Plus with our guy Sam Getzinger is calling those games. You can watch that. The championship will be on Extra tomorrow at 2 from Grand Forks. Note that, 2 o'clock tomorrow for the Class A championship game on WDAY Extra. 4:30 today on Plus, everything streaming, then tomorrow on TV for the championship game. All the consolation games you can see there will also stream those. 5th place and 3rd place will be after the title game as well. So that's Class A baseball. Class B baseball here in town, or softball, sorry. You told me that. Sorry. Class A softball here in Grand Forks as well. 4 o'clock semifinals on Plus today. The championship will start things tomorrow on Extra at noon. So 4 o'clock on WDAY Plus, noon tomorrow on Extra for the championship game. That's softball. Ryan McNamara has the call of those games from Grand Forks. Okay, now to baseball and Class B baseball here at Newman Outdoor Field. Semifinals getting going later today, right here on WDAY Extra. Cullen Holt, Mike Scogan from Newman Outdoor Field. 4:30. I mean, those are the 4 best teams. You saw it by virtue of the scores of the games yesterday. Those should be 2 dynamite games. And then the championship is tomorrow night, prime time, 7 o'clock on Extra to wrap up the high school baseball season. Also in town is Class B softball. I'll be out there for that. We'll hit the air at 4 o'clock on WDAY2 today for that. For our 2 semifinals, Delax, Burlington, Hillsborough, Central Valley in the first game, then Beulah and Central Cass. The championship is tomorrow, late afternoon, 4:30 on Extra. Then soccer on Plus today, semifinals at 4:30, and the championship, note that's at 3:30 tomorrow on WDAY2 for the championship game in soccer. That's everything, folks. No quizzes on that. That's what we got going. Also, late night tonight for you Twins fans, 9 o'clock on Twins.tv for their opener with the Mariners. The Lynx also playing late tonight against the Phoenix Mercury. That's on Ion for their game. And the Bison baseball team opens up their NCAA tournament with Arkansas, 2 o'clock on ESPN+. We got to roll. Thanks to our guests today, to Eric Schmidt, Parker Puetz, Max Iversen, of course, to my dad, you missed any of the show, you can podcast it later today at inforum.com. You can watch a full replay on WDAY+. Everybody have a great weekend. If you're going to a tournament, enjoy it. And we'll see you back here on Monday on Hot Mic. Thanks for watching, everybody.